All right, let's have a look at Tim's deep dive. We're going to kick off with Dylan Brown, mate. Dual position, which we love to see. A little bit underwhelming so far this year. What do you got for me?
And that statement is the exact reason that I brought him up, mate, because he does feel like he's underwhelmed. And looking at his season average, he certainly has underwhelmed. Season average of 65 points. Season averages the last 2 years of 76 and 74. But in what's been a very volatile halves this season, both 5'8" and halfback, he's just been rock solid. Scored under 54 once all season. That was a 42 against the Tigers, so hardly a diabolical score there. Hasn't scored a ton yet, but it just comes back to the importance of base and power stats. But like, he bases 33. You know, with all his runs come tackle breaks and a few offloads and that, dual positioning. So, look, he's a popular buy this week leading into is a Kiwi. He's a good buy period coverage option. The dual position is so crucial at the moment in the halves. He's just so reliable, isn't he?
Isn't buy-round footy just so bizarre that this guy that I've been so disappointed with all year becomes a must-have?
Yeah.
Sort of guy. It's wild, but I get it. Mulitalo, mate, at the Sharkies. No Nico Hines this week. Trindle back into the side, which I personally think helps Mulitalo. What do you got for me?
One of the most sold players this week, Ronaldo Mulitalo. I actually had him pegged as a potential buy. And the stats, I think, back this up really well because when Braden Trindle was stood down for a little bit and missed a stretch of games, as soon as it happened, we said, this is bad news for Mulitalo because Atkinson comes in, Nico Hines on the right edge, he'll get a lot of the ball. So he's down to 568K now with a break-even of 111. His last 3 games, that base has regressed to just 18 per game after being a lot better earlier on in the season. He scored 8 tries in his first 6 games. He's only scored 1 try in his last 5. Those 5 games coincided entirely with Braden Trindle being out.
Yeah,
Braden Trindle's back now. I don't know if Trindle plays left or right or what happens there, but regardless, without Nico being super dominant on that right edge that he plays, it's just good things for Mulitalo. Look, I don't need around 13 numbers, so I won't be buying him, but I just think Mulitalo at that price for what he did earlier on in the season and Trindle back in, I suppose the big question as well is, Roo, and again, we don't know, but does Trindle hold his spot when Nico returns, or do they stick with Atkinson? Because, I think Mulitalo is a sneaky one.
Isn't it tough with Atkinson? Like, I look back and I think to myself, okay, he was part of their best win in a long time against Melbourne. He was also a big part of their biggest loss as well. So I'm not too sure. I'd be lying if I said I was confident either way on that. What happens? I could see it falling both ways with those two. Moses Suli, mate. An interesting one here. Always been a real pottish sort of option, Moses Suli. Talk to me. What are you thinking here?
So, firstly, the late show tonight. It's going to be a cracker. Without Kat here, we've changed it up a little bit in terms of the questions, and I'm going to be looking at buy period super pods, under 3% ownership players. There's a ton of them to get you through the buy period. It's really fun, and blokes that, content creators and myself included don't really touch on because they're low ownership for a reason. There are so many great buys, and I was going to save Suli for that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to talk about him now. Among the top 10% ranked Supercoach coaches overall, Suli's at 0.3% ownership. He's at 409K at the moment. He had that first minute concussion against the Roosters a few rounds back, so he's bottomed out in price. Take it that game, he's averaging 50 points per game. Not incredible by any means, but pretty solid considering he's 409K, basing 36.25 per game, which is outstanding. You add in now Ben Hunt out this week. The Dragons, everything they do is down the right edge of Ben Hunt. So with Flano now running the show, assuming he stays on that left edge, Suli could see more ball there. The Dragons cover around 13 and they cover around 19. So pretty good. Oh, it's good buy coverage. He's only scored 2 tries this season and had 1 try assist. So not many attacking stats there. Look, he's not someone I'm going to be getting in, but for people looking to free up a bit of money there and get a good buy coverage player, Moses Suli with enormous base, I can see serious merit in it.
Yeah, you've put up a pretty good argument. Not one that I won't be going down that avenue, but I can understand it if people do 100%. And next guy, mate, Joe Tarpanay. As I said, I was on the sideline with the Raiders on the weekend, and mate, watching him get on the bike, Good God, I felt sorry for that bike. He is one enormous human being, isn't he?
He is. And a bloke that always becomes relevant this time of the year, again, being a Kiwi at the Raiders, and Ricky Stewart tends to build him into minutes throughout the year and not sort of smash him too early on. Just not, he's been great in actual NRL, but Supercoach just not quite there. He's averaging 54 minutes per game. I think that can increase a little bit as the season goes on, and particularly through this period. Averaging 59 points, but, mate, the big regression in his scoring has come from his lack of offloading this season. In his last 5 games, he's only had 1 offload. In his last 7 games, he's only had 4 offloads, which takes Supercoach out of the equation. I don't know why, because the Raiders who... Look, we don't have the most lethal backline of all time at the moment. Our ball movement, particularly with Jamal Fogarty out, is not great. And I've said, like, for the last couple of years, with such a brutal and a dynamic forward pack, you've got these great offloading forwards. Just do it. Get the second phase play going. Get Jordan Rapana into the game. Get Xavier Savage sniffing around the ruck. And it just like with numbers like that, you'd think Ricky Stewart nearly must have had a directive for Tarpany to put it away. But until he starts offloading a little bit more, I just don't think he's probably an option.
Isn't it bizarre? Ricky seems to do this at some point every single year where they just go through periods where they all just refuse to offload the footy. It's when you're at your best. I can never work it out.
I don't get it either. So, I don't like it. But, yeah, Supercoach-wise, it sucks. NRL-wise, I don't like it either. But, look, he knows more than I do, so...
Okay, you've got here Dolphins wingers, and I know you've got one of them. I have neither of them, the great Jack Bostock and Jamayne Isaako. Talk to me.
It's just one that piqued my own interest a little bit, especially not even since I've owned Isaako. I've been sort of watching them both all season, and my gut feel was just that they never really went big Supercoach-wise together and scored tries together. The Dolphins... seem to just hone in on the weaker edge each round, and they just seem to go at it. So it's either a fill-up for Bostock or it's a fill-up for Jamayne Isaako. And I see, like, particularly Isaiah Katoa, and look, this could absolutely, and there's every chance to just be chance, but I'm seeing the sample size getting bigger and bigger now. Isaiah Katoa he's a left-side player, Nicarima plays on the right, but he's starting to play more and more and slicing over to the right edge and having a big impact on the right edge as well. But 11 games each this season, Bostock and Isaako, I don't think they've missed a game yet. 17 tries between them, killing it. But they never do it together. Round 6 is the only time that they've both scored in the same game, which is, pretty rare for after 11 games for a team that's scoring a lot of points. They've both had a few fill-ups with doubles and a hat-trick for Isaako a few weeks back. I just found that very interesting, and yeah, there's just games, even on the weekend, they just kept going to Isaako on the right. He had, I think, 3 line breaks or something, and Bostock didn't get a lot of good ball. Can you make any sense of it, or it's probably just chance, but I found it fascinating.
Could it potentially be matchup dependent?
Who they're up against?
Who they're up against?
I do, yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
But it's just funny how hard they just go, all right, that's the weaker edge, let's go at it.
Let's go at it. Let's go all at it. Yeah, interesting.